those alcohol substances to House Bill 1937.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. I know it's very late. Appreciate your patience. And I'm going to abbreviate my, I had a pretty good initial speech here. I'm going to try to do it what I did for the media about 3 times today. When the terrorists back in 9/11 flew 2 airliners into the Twin Towers, the nation was stunned. And while still in process of recovering bodies and cleaning up the devastation, Congress created the Transportation Security Administration, giving it the responsibility of security for all modes of transportation. The agency was charged to screen all checked luggage for explosives, and mandatory screening of all passengers with the aid of metal detectors was instituted. And nail clippers, pocket knives, corkscrews, and a host of other pocket items were forbidden to be carried by passengers on airliners. However, in 2001, Richard Reed, the shoe bomber, attempted to blow up a plane with explosives hidden in his shoes, and the procedures were changed and revised, and all travelers were required to remove shoes and walk around on the floor barefoot on the airport as a part of screening processes. And there was grumbling, but the travelers submitted. Then in 2009, a terrorist on a flight from Amsterdam to Detroit attempted to blow up a plane with explosives hidden in his underwear. And yes, the procedures changed again, and agents this time started putting their hands down pants and up skirts, checking for explosives and other things. I shudder to think what might happen if a terrorist seeks to blow up a plane hiding explosives in a body cavity.
It's not funny.
In 2010, the TSA began deploying advanced imaging technology units, or whole body scanners. The scanners reveal a traveler's body without clothing, generating basically a nude image. In lieu of submitting to this virtual strip search, a traveler is subjected to an enhanced pat-down, which may include reaching into pants, up skirts, touching breasts, buttocks, genitals, and even one's anus. Complaints of TSA screeners abusing their authorities are piling up. There are accounts right here in Texas of screeners exposing women's breasts, of children being traumatized, of medical conditions being disclosed, and people who object being intimidated. Even travelers who opt for the more traditional metal detectors are being randomly pulled from the line and required to go through the naked body scanner and be patted down. In November of last year, the ACLU reported in 1 month over 900 complaints about abusive searches. The TSA itself reports that there have been over 110,000 complaints filed since its founding. The safeguards instituted in the wake of a national tragedy to protect us from terrorists have somehow been transformed from prudent caution to ridiculous excess, demanding that innocent travelers be treated as criminal suspects and surrender their personal dignity as a condition of travel. Indeed, C.S. Lewis was right when he wrote in 1948, "Of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive." Now, I was hoping to show you a video. I've given you a thumb drive that has a 5-minute video. We took about 3.5 hours and compressed it to just the instances that show what I've just talked about. And I'd encourage you when you have some time to look at that. But what I'd like to do now is just really lay out House Bill, the committee substitute for House Bill 1937, which will address the abuses that you'll see in that video. We're not seeking to stop the TSA screening searches or to hamper legitimate security measures. Rather, I'm bringing this legislation to establish that we here in Texas, the Texas legislature, recognizes that there is a limit beyond which government employees cannot go, even in the name of security.
That's right.
Committee substitute House Bill 1937 would amend Section 3903 of the Penal Code, creating a Class A misdemeanor for a public servant who intentionally, knowingly, and recklessly searches another person without probable cause and touches the anus, sexual organ, or breast of another person, including touching through clothing or in a manner that would be offensive to a reasonable person, as a part of a search to grant access to a publicly accessible building or form of travel. I would like to point out the differences between House Bill 1937 and the committee substitute for that bill. We basically moved the language from Chapter 22, which is about sexual assault, to Chapter 39, which deals with abuse of office or official oppression. If you look at people's private parts being touched, you do feel like it's sexual assault, and that's why we looked at that chapter first. But as we studied the issue more, looking at it from those who are considering charging if they do this, I think it fits better under Section 39 of the Penal Code, which deals with abuse of one's office of a public servant. The net effect of this is it changes the offense from a state jail felony to a Class A misdemeanor. And would also remove the requirement that the offender register as a sexual offender. And this section also already gives the Attorney General concurrent jurisdiction for prosecution with the consent of the local prosecutor. I would be happy to answer your questions.
Any questions, maybe? Shall we say?
The only concern I have is the federal government requiring the searches. Do you have any feeling as to how federal preemption is going to affect your statute?
This is not a nullification bill. This is, we're not contravening any federal legislation. I've searched the code. It requires that you search a person, but it does not require that a government official needs to go to third base or second base with the person who's traveling. So we're just saying that in an administrative search, we're drawing the line that this is legitimate, this is reasonable to this point. Up to this point, it's clearly, after you get to this point, it's unreasonable. And there's no federal statute, to my knowledge, requiring that you touch someone's private parts as a condition of travel.
Have you run it by the Attorney General?
Yes, we've sought to make sure we've done things right, and we do have a resource witness from the Attorney General's office. And we've asked that maybe she can go first. She's been here a long
By the way,
time.
I signed off on your bill, so.
Yeah. Just ask.
One thing I would note, if this bill is very broad, it doesn't just deal with the TSA, though that's certainly what's in everybody's mind. But this would affect DPS officers here in the Capitol that would be searching people, or perhaps someone at a football game going through purses. You could not touch someone's private parts as an administrative search without probable cause if this legislation is enacted.
Yes. Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too have signed off on your bill, but I was just doing a little searching here, and it looks like we're prosecuting kind of this inappropriate touching at airports and the like under this section, this very section, the substitute substitute version. And what I noticed specifically is that in your revisions or amendments to that section of the penal code, you've added intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly. And as this is currently being prosecuted, I know this is a prosecutor here, we're saying under that section 39.03A1, intentionally, and A2, intentionally, A3, intentionally. So in effect, what we're doing is we're adding knowingly or recklessly. And so I wonder what your thoughts are about that, and if that matters to you.
First of all, I think this bill will help those who are in the TSA as well as anybody. It's just saying this is the line that's appropriate to go to. I just want to make that clear. That language, intentionally, knowingly, and recklessly, was what we had in the original bill. We just moved that to section 39. And this is, we didn't want to prove, and hopefully most people are not seeking gratification, which is required in section 22. Section 39 deals with official oppression. There might be levels that are just intentional. When you see the video, there's one person that testifies that I have power, the TSA agent, over this traveler. And it was clear that they knew, they had knowledge of what they were doing. They were aware of their ability to do this to the passenger. And this particular passenger actually ended up exposing, I don't know the technical word for the bag, but it's a urine bag, and it spilled all over him. And this TSA agent was certainly aware, knowing of the kind of things that they were doing. He told them, and yet they were still reckless, and they went over the bag, and then the bag was exposed, and the urine went over his body, and he traveled that way the rest of the day. I think all three of those are legitimate mental states.
Any other questions? Representative Simpson?